Hi everyone, welcome to our review of the new True HZRDUS PX4 equipment. This is the first ever set of this equipment in the UK, so we're extremely excited and lucky to have it. A big thank you to the guys at True for turning this around in just over 5 weeks so that we can have it nice and quickly after the launch date to be able to share it all with you. We'll just be focusing on the leg pads in this video, as True haven't made any changes to the gloves from either the Catalyst review that we did last year or the L20.2 the year before that. Not that they need to. True gloves are always fantastic, so I'm not necessarily disappointed that there's no changes to report. But just to keep it efficient, we're just going to talk about the changes that have been made to the leg pads. So as we know, the HZRDUS is the evolution of the L20.2 line, which we brought to the UK. We brought the first set of those a couple of years ago and reviewed, so check back to see the video on that if you wanted to see a bit of a comparison. So in terms of the look, we've gone for a very simple all blue graphic this time around. You can make some great design pads on the customizer, so I recommend you go and have a play around with that. But wanted to keep it simple this time around, so I've just gone with the solid blue, and I think they look great. You feel free to disagree in the comments if you want, but I think they look really nice, just nice and simple in a solid blue there. So True have made the HZRDUS pads a lot stiffer than the L20.2s. In the thigh rise alone, they are 30% stiffer, and that is designed to be for big reactive rebounds. So having a stiffer profile, stiffer materials inside the pad allow rebounds to sort of pop off a lot quicker, which they did on the L20.2s already, but even more so on these with the much stiffer top end of the pad. So the way they've achieved that 30% extra stiffness at the top there is they've introduced the composite core, which they introduced on the Catalyst pads last year. I'd imagine that's very, very similar. It feels similar at least. Almost too stiff, in my opinion. The Catalyst pads that I had were definitely too stiff. So this time around, for the first time ever, I've gone with an external break in my leg pads just to allow a bit of flex in the top half of the pad that I wasn't getting in the Catalysts at all. So yeah, really nice and stiff. You can see from the break upwards, they're pretty much straight. I am begging for True to have a pre-curved core design where there's just a natural curve to the top of the pad. If they ever introduce that, as they did in their previous incarnations with another manufacturer, or at least Leverve did, they would be absolutely perfect. But for now, we've got what we've got. They do still work. It's just not completely to my liking. Having that pre-curved core option would be an absolute game changer for True pads, in my opinion. So carrying on with the thigh rise, like keeping on with the trend from the Catalyst last year, these have a 40% thinner thigh rise from the L20.2s, as was the same with the Catalysts versus the L12.2s a couple of years before that. So they're following a lot of the same technology and the same trends within the two lines within True. And they have sort of firmed up the knee stack a bit. It's still not as stable as other brands and perhaps as much as I would like, but it's definitely improvement on 2 years ago. But I would like to see something that's integrated with the core of the pad, just to kind of follow on with what pretty much every other manufacturer is doing with their knee stacks there. I think that's one area that True is kind of falling behind a little bit there, but it's better than it was, but there's still definitely some room for improvement in that area there. So in terms of weight on the pads, compared to the Catalyst from last year, these are a staggering 245 grams lighter, which, although they're different lines of pads, they're not always going to be the same weight, I think is a huge difference. And it's definitely noticeable just from carrying the pad. But interestingly, in the same size as the L20.2s, these are just over 100 grams heavier, which I can only attribute to them having sort of harder materials throughout the core, which naturally adds a bit of weight to the pad. It's not a significant increase. I've worn these on the ice and you don't really notice it as a big increase in weight compared to the L20.2s. But I was a bit surprised. Like normally with evolutions of pads, the weight tends to go down, not up. But if it improves the performance of the pad, then I'm all for it. Other than that, there's not too many changes. The whole strapping system, the FRS, the fast rotation system is all exactly the same. It's super adjustable, so you can dial that into exactly how you like it, how you like your pads to be worn. And yeah, the whole strapping system is pretty much exactly the same. One thing I do like, and these are tiny little changes, but they're ones that I really enjoy. They've changed the angle of the boot straps here. So on both sides, they've just changed the angle of that by 90 degrees, which I think is a really cool little detail. If you consider which way the boot strap goes around the back of the heel there, I think that's a really simple but clever change to make to the strap. And might just be me being a bit of a nerd, but I really like that. I think that's just such a cool little bit of attention to detail. And, you know, it stops the strap itself bending, which can affect the leather and can affect the durability there. Just by having a simple change of shape there, you completely eliminate that potential durability issue on the straps there, which make them last a lot longer. So for now, that's it. We've obviously got to get these on the ice. We've got to film some footage with them, which will be coming in the next couple of weeks. But for now, if you have any questions or comments, please drop us a message or leave them in the comments on Instagram. Give us a like and a follow if you haven't done so already. And thank you for watching. And please stay tuned for some on ice content in the next couple of weeks.